Finnegans Wake by James Joyce, Book 2, Chapter 1, Section 219. Every evening at lighting up o'clock sharp, and until further notice in Phoenix Playhouse, bar and conveniences always open, Diddlem Club downstairs. Entrancings, guards, a scab, the quality, 1 large shilling, newly billed for each weekday performance. Soms those massinies, by arraignment, child dreams hours, expercated jam pots, rinsed porters, taken in token with nightly redistribution of parts and players by the puppetry producer and daily dubbing of ghosters, with the benediction of the holy Genesius, Archimedes, and under the distinguished patronage of their elderships for oldens from the 4 coroners of Findrius, Murius, Gorius, and Phallius, Messoise de Corbs, Clive Solis, Galorius Kettle, Pobieto Lancy, and Pierre Dussault, while the Caesar-in-Chief looks on Senate, as played to the Adelphi by the brothers Bratislarov, Hyrcan, and Aristobulus. After humpteen-dumpteen revivals, before all the king's horses, with all the queen's mum, and word loosed over 7 seas, crowd blast in Sella Lellen, T2 Slav, Zen Latin Sanskrit. In 4 tubloids. While fern make caldas until fern make gold, the mime of Mick, Nick, and the Maggies, adopted from Ballymooney blood-ridden murder by Blue Chin Back Dylan. Otherways big story featuring Glug, Mr. Sumas Miqueled. Here the riddles between the robot in his dress circular and the gagster in the rogues gallery. The bold, bad, bleak boy of the storybooks who, when the tabs go up as we discover because he knew too much, has been divorced into disgrace court by the Floras. Girl Scouts from St. Bride's, finishing establishment, demand acidulateds, a month's bunch of pretty maidens who, while they pick on her their pet peeve, form with Valkyrienne, license the god for Isolde, Miss Beautyspot, ask the attendess for a leaflet, a bewitching blonde who dimples delightfully and is approached in loveliness only by her grateful sister reflection in a mirror. The cloud of the opal, who, having jilted Glug, is being fatally fascinated by Chuff, Mr. Sean O'Malley. See the chalk and sand going pictographed on the safety drop. The fine, frank, fair-haired fellow of the fairy tales, who wrestles for Topo with the bold, bad, bleak boy Glug, generally about caps or puds or tog bags or bog gats or shooting rootskin, generally or something, until they adumbrace a pattern of somebody else or other, after which they are both carried off the set and brought home to be well soaked, sponged, and scrubbed again by Anne, Miss Corriendo, Christian Scuola. Bring the babes Pida, Poda, and Totti. She mistributes mandumus monis after perdonamento. Hendra da Lovin entrees, Pulcinellis must not miss our national rooster's rag. Their poor little old mother-in-law, who is woman of the house, playing opposite to Hump, who read the sayings from Laxdale Saga. In the program about King Ericus of Sweden, and the spirit's whispers in his magical helmet, cap or pipe, With watch and topper, coat, crest, and supporters, the cause of all our grievances, the whirl, the flash, and the trouble, who, having partially recovered from a recent impeachment due to egg everlasting, but thorough and thoroughly propounded for psychological ease, studying sail once more, jib sheets and royals in the semblance of the substance for the membrance of the umbrance, with the remnants of the emblance, revealing a kendam supercargo of the rockery, poop and heaven, engaged in entertaining in his pilgrimage custom house at Caerhelm upon Esker, those statutory persons, the customers, components of the after-hour courses at St. Precius's Academy for Grown-Up Gentlemen. Consult the ununary, cold porter's sib suction. A bundle of a dozen of representative locomotive civics, each in quest of outings, who are still more sloppily served after every cup. Final by Sonnesren, Mr. Nut, Olsvinger, Tiffstay off, wouldn't stop in bad imitation of flatfish, torch-bearing. Supper ape, Dodd, half-sovereign, no chi daily, roly-posies, Glen of the Downs, the Gugna, his gaze works, his ears quack, his Loki-Stroki OSV. A Srinvinsen Heine and spoil curate unconcerned in the mystery, but under the influence of the mildews and butt of Kate, Miss Rachel Leah Varian. She tells workings for bash fellows under purda of card palmer teapot, tospat, Madame Delta, during the pauses. Cook and distrudge, which believes one thinks that wouse be the churchyard or watched up the Asgars, the show must go on. Time, the present, with futurist one-horse ballet battle pictures and the pageant of past history worked up with animal variations and ever-gleaning mangroves mazes and bee-orb tractors by Messieurs Thud and Blunder. Shadows by the film folk, masses by the good people, promptings by Elanio Vitale, long shots, up closes, out blacks, and stage toilettes by Hexen Schuss, Coach Meha, Incubone, and Rock Narag. Creations tastefully designed by Madame Berthe de la Mode. Dances arranged by Harley Quinn, and cool bee in a jests, jokes, jigs, and jorums, for the wake lent from the properties of the late cemented Mr. T. M. Finnegan, R.I.C., lip masks and hair wigs by Ouida Nuik, limes and floods by Kruger and Toll, Cope pipe by Kappa Pedersen, Hode pine hat with 24 vent holes by Morgan, boss and string bag from Heterodideros and Old Ladies' Presents, tree taken for grafted, rock rent, Phoenician blends, and Sourdanian doof poosts by Shove Surish and One Bedaft. The oak mulberry eek with silk trick tumesh from Shop Sauri, Seedsman's Chop, Grabstone bag from General Otis Mail, the crack that's cooked by a smoker from the gods, the interjection, Buckley, by the fireman in the pit, accidental music providentially arranged by Lerche and Lacorde, melodiosities in pure fusion by the score. To start with, in the beginning, we need hotly remark a community prayer, everyone for himself, and to conclude with an exodus, we think it well to add a chorale in canon, good for us all, us all. Songs be tuned the acts by the ambiophions of Annapolis, Joan McCormick, male soprano, and Jean Souslevin, base, noble, respectively. O Master Sugarman, if this is what ye do's, then I'm not so pleased ye want that bottle of Sovkikpu, and off notch the rush, their last meech nicht, till the summit scenes of climbacks, catastrophe, the bearded mountain, pull him up, bear the rushed, and the river rumps the nursery, maidikins in uniform, the whole thugamagog, including the portions understood to be admitted as the results of the respected titulars neglecting to produce themselves to be wound up for an after enactment by a magnificent transformation scene, showing the radium wedding of need and mourning and the dawn of peace, pure, perfect, and perpetual, waking the weary of the world. An argument follows. Chaffee was an angle then, and his sword fleshed light like lightning. Fool, stop, sancti sancti meekly loose, defending new from prowlabouts, make a shine on the cursed. Amen. But the Dublin Sulph was in glugga, that lost to learning punct. He was buffing and spooting and tossing, like asinine whipping his eyesalt and gnashing his teats over the brevities from existers and the older lee books of life. His hath Kelchi chosen a clay blade and makes praises to his 3 of clubs. To part from these my corseties into overlusting fear, axe of feet, hoof and jarity, athlete Longfoot, the jowl up here. Amongst that number of evilings, but how peaceful in their suggestiveness were those first girly stirs with zitterings of flight, released and twinglings of twitch bells in rondel after, with wavelings that made shimmer shake rather natally all the dusk-sended airs, and shy-lit beaconings from she-hide him's back, semicolon. Midi lamb she was shuffering all the diseasenesses of the upherd of Mary Louisian Chusapinas, if R could no more salve his annuals from the wiles of Willy Woolly Wolf, if all the Irish cynics of her dip and dump help a bit from an Father Hogum, till the Mother Masons could not that glue to catch her by the colour of her brightness, not Rose, Sevilla, nor Citronelle, not Esmeralda, Pervinca, nor Indra, not Viola even, nor all of them 4 themes over, but the Momphage stick in the melmellow jaw. I am twined to mine all these thing. Up tighty in the front, down again on the loose, drim and drumming on her back and a pop from her whistle. What is that? Oh, holy troopers! Is it giving you? Up he stoked. Glee you geese, with a search of fling did die near sea. Be me Owen and call me Hugh, and if you, what you might call for me, I wish you may call for you. And they are met, face a facing. They are set, force to force. And no such Copenhagen Marengo was less so fitted for a fall, since in glen small of smiling thrushes, patch white past Oceana scowl. Arrest thee, scald brother, came the Evangelion, sabre accusant, from old St. John's Wood to kill or maim him, and be dumb, but ills arrested. It would proffer to his selected one his trifle from the grass. A space? Who are you? The cat's mother. A time? What do you lack? The look of a queen. But what is that which is going to be prehend? Seeks puzzling his brains. The fiender. The how to say to is what is he must who must, word and shawl. a dark tongue's cunning, O Theo Pero, Ethia oblore the poor lie. He asked of the hood-head fire shield, but it was undergone into the mat-hued heaven. He sewed it from the loft, but that bore ne mark ne message. He looked upon the blooming grund, where ungly his corns were growing. At last he listed back to Beckline, how she pranked alone so jauntily. The scanned for schooling, with not a word from the wordless either. Item. He was hard set then. He wanted to go somewhere while he was weeting. Utam. He wished to grieve on the good persons, that is the four gentlemen. Autumn. And it was not a long time till he was feeling through for 'em. He was good da Persia. And it was short after that he was fooling me hunt to me hint. He was an ingine ruba etum. He was at his thinker's aunt's to give the four gentlemen the presents of a coops. And this is what he would be willing. He fold the fourth. They found the hurdle stones. They fell ill with the gravy duck. And he sat down with the roast of the meat that him. To whereby hangs our tales. Aho, this poor glug. It was so said of him about of his old fount-mouther. Truly deplorable. A dire, and all the frightfulness whom he inhabited from his co-line-born janitor. Sometime towerable, with that hairy antlets on him, and the bobo light bulging out of his sockets whiling away, she sprinkled his all over with her noses of interrogation. How do you do that, lack-a-lock, and pass the poker, please? And beats him tender lute and airily. Sing, sweetheart, thing to me unknown. So that Glug, the poor one, in that limbo pool, which was his subnaciousness, he could scarce have not now whither his mortar had burst a blabber, or if the vogal stones that hit his tin pan was merely his skull missed his trump amidst his fluting. Ah, ho, Sicily, oh! This young delightsome frills and players are now shown drawn, if but one, or, if in frolic, drawings up consociately at the hinder side of their commoner guardian, her boy fiend or theirs, if they are so prettily held, cometh up as a trapdoor, thinking how he must find for himself by gazework what their colours were, as they are all shown drawings up, tight and cashton, tight and bah. Doth that not satisfy youth, sir? Quanti purti bellas here, Madame Alife. And what are you going to charm them to, Madame Douce? Cindernelli angled her slipper. It was Joe Chinny yet brought her a groom. He will angst of them from their commoner guardian at next line-up, who is really the rapier of the two, though the other brother can hold his own especially, for he brandished it with his hand the whole time. My main, a simple gracious me o la, and re-loose that tongue of his art. Hast thou feel like carbuncly once? A poon which is poor whore. Precocity theirs is a little tit of hilarity. Laro mi soul, see, and the word chary is outvoiced, ring soundingly by their toots ensembled. Though not meaning to be clever, but just with a shrug of their hips, to go to Troy and half a freak at himself by all that story to the ultramarines. Otherwise, holding their noises, they insinuate quiet, private, nay, he make peace in his breeches and play with esteem. Where Wolf, to boo. So Wolf for his top he took, The rock made raid as slick as legs would run, and he anchored on his hunkers with the belly pressed, asking, "What's my muffin stuff and eggs for these times?" To wit, breath and bother and what a curse, then breath more bother and more what a curse, then no breath no bother but war ra wara worms, and shim shalev shom. As Rika Nolina to Mountain, what she meant, he could not can. All she meant was gold and silver, all she meant was some night's plough jam. It's driving her daft, like he's so done. If he'd lonely talk instead of only gawk, as thought Yeatman had stuck, he'd stick all through his spokes, and if he would not, woolly so, he speak, sweetie bird, mitzi, though I did ate, tough, I'm not the bog doxy. Have you mon brimstone? No. Or hell furestein? No. Or Van Diemen's coral pearl? No. He has lost. Off to clutch glug, for what? Shape your rarries glug, for we'll ring we round, chuff. Farewell, chuff, inners even, all's rice with their whirl. Yet tears, who can her mater be? She's promised he'd eye her, to try her up pretty. But now it's so longed and so fared and so forth, Jerry for jauntings alibi fled. The flossies all and mossies all they drooped upon her draped brimful. The bowknots, the show-lots, they wilted into woe-blots. The pearlograph knew whichly whether to weep or laugh. For always down in Carolina's lovely diners vaunt their view. Poor Issa sits a-glooming, so gleaming in the gloaming the tin sails a touch tarnished, wind no lovely noise, awound her swans. Hey lass, what fear gleam she so glooming? This poor pathet, I sold, her bowman's gone of a cool, be good enough to sympathize. If he's at anywhere, she is there for to join him. If it's to nowhere, she's going to too. But if he'll go to be a son to Francis, she'll stay daughter of Clare. Bring tansy, throw myrtles through, roo. She is fading out like Journey's clothes, so you can't see her now. Still, we know how day the dyer works in dims and deeps and dusks and darks, and among the shades that Eve's now wearing she'll meet anew. Fiancé, trist and trow, mammy was, mimmy is, me new scolins to be. In the dips a dame, and the dame desires a damsel, but the damsel dresses Dolly, and the Dolly does a doocy damble the same renew, for though she's unmarried, she'll after truss up and help that hussy band how to hop, heap it, and trip it, and cherub, and sing, Lord Chuffy Sky Sheriff, and Glug's got to swing. So and so, toe by toe, to and fro, they go round, for they are the ingels, scattering nods as girls who may, for they are an angel's garland. Gotchmire mockings, libertied garters, shoddy shoes, quicked out with silver, penny fair cups and penny for frocks, and a ring on her foam finger. And they leap so looply as they link to light, and they look so looflit, noosed in a nuptious night. With a sly glance in, and a coy glance out, they ramp it a little, a lissel, then romp pride, round and rout. Say them all, but tell them apart, cadenzando coloratura, R is rubretta, and A is arantia, Y is for Yila, and N for greenerin, B is for boy blue and odorlisk O, while W waters the flullerets of no remembrance. Though they're all but merely a schoolgirl, yet these way went they. Aye, the view, oh, the avenue, dancing goes and trancing roundly, Miss oodles of annums before the luvium does like so. And then, again, does like so. And miss endless of eons if the dice of Eire does like so. And then again does like so. The many wiles of Windshore